Call the order, City Council of Atlantic to order, September 3rd meeting. No adjustments to the agenda, so recommended approval.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Just to mention, Ms. Stewart is gone for tonight. She's in excused absence. Item number 2, approved consent agenda, approved minutes of the August 20th, 2014 council meeting, approved tree trimmer permit, creative landscaping, approved Class C liquor license for the Elbow Room, approve a Class B native wine permit, Sweet Joy Shop, and approve my appointment of Crystal Christensen to the library board.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. Got a motion second, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Item 3, approve route for a road race sponsored by Atlantic City Student Council. If you young ladies want to come up and explain it, we can ask you questions and kind of explain everything to the public. She didn't tell you, did she?
No, they said questions only, or
Yeah.
answer
Oh,
questions.
We want to bring a little grace and beauty to our council meeting.
They do what I say.
I'm Steph Friend, and I'm Vice President of our Student Council.
I'm Jenny Holmberg, and I'm the president of our student council.
And we have a color run proposed, and this is a 5K where you run around and there's 4 checkpoints where you get kind of squirted with colored powder. And at the end, it's like a big celebration with more colored powder. And it starts and ends at the high school. And I believe you guys
We have a
should have
map,
been shared
yeah.
the route with. We have our checkpoints at the Washington School, the middle school, the high school, and the YMCA parking lot. And we have those checkpoints okayed with the superintendent and also the YMCA.
We also got permission from places like the Heritage House to run through their parking lots and all of those places, so it should be good for them to go.
Okay.
It's a fundraiser for student council. Every year we do a fundraiser and they wanted to try something different. And
Very
this is
popular.
what they came
They're
up with.
very popular. If people don't understand what the color race is, basically is, you get going and you just go a bunch of color, different powders on you, and by the time you get back, you got 18 different colors you get back in.
And the
So,
color dust is just made of colored cornstarch, so
Okay.
we can wash it off if those places want to, with just like a leaf blower, or also I've talked to Mark McNeese and he said the fire department could assist us
Okay.
in that for some places.
and we're not gonna close the streets down for the route as a reporter, they're gonna still be open, but just people to understand there's gonna be a race going on.
We also will have volunteers, hopefully, with the orange vests on telling
Okay.
people where to go.
They won't be colored though, will they?
Maybe eventually.
Yes,
Yeah.
maybe.
I know it should be a good fundraiser, because I know my son in Ames races them a lot of times, and people just go crazy over them.
They're a lot of fun. I did one in Kansas City,
Okay.
so.
Can anyone from the public participate, or is
Oh,
it
yeah.
just high
Yes.
school?
Yeah.
Anybody.
It's open to the public. The registration is actually online, and right now the website's having a couple of glitches. So as soon as that's up, anybody can register. It's $30 per runner, and you pay online, and then you just show up that day and you get your materials. So
Where's the
it's
website?
really easy. It's schoolathon.org, and there's kind of some specific instructions. You have to click on a link and then enter a group ID code. And the instructions we will be posting like on Facebook, and we're also having an article in tomorrow's paper for everybody.
And we're also putting it in the radio stations too, and we'll have posters put up around town. Just
Okay.
making those.
It's October 11th, right?
Yes. And registration is like tomorrow, or as of today, until the 14th of September.
Okay. Any questions at all, council? Who wants to run? Let them know that you signed up, Kathy. And Ashley? I'm gonna be out of town, I know for sure that. There ain't that much powder out there. Okay.
Well, I make a motion to approve the route for the road race sponsored by the Atlantic High School Student Council. I'll second.
Got a motion second, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Thank you, ladies. Item 4, authorize the mayor to sign a mutual aid agreement between the city of Atlantic and the city of Lewis. And this is just, in case they need us, we can go to them, if they need them, then come to us.
Yep, and I discussed it with the fire chief, and he said that nothing's changed, same
Yeah.
old thing, just making sure we had an agreement on the books.
Okay?
With that, I'll make a motion that we authorize the mayor to sign a mutual aid agreement with the city of Lewis.
Second.
Motion to second, discussion?
There's quite a few typos in this agreement.
Neither.
Yeah. Can we fix it before we really sign it? I guess it's already been signed by them though, hasn't it?
How many typos are there? Major ones, or?
Well,
Is there any on
there's one section, okay, it says, okay, under B, automatic mutual aid, the top of the second page. It says the Atlantic Fire Department shall automatically respond to all calls described in section 1 of B above. But there's nothing in 1B that, I'm not finding the description.
Well, B is the automatic mutual aid, and one underneath that, I think it's a little bit, it probably should say
Section 1.
B, it should be section B1 instead of 1B, I think, to be correct.
B1, and then, but then, okay, so that would be that very bottom paragraph on the first page, right?
Correct.
Right.
But then that goes on, it doesn't describe anything, it says as described in the following district description outline.
It just says we'll release equipment and personnel to respond. And 2 basically says it'll be 24 hours on a continual basis. I agree, it could be worded, I think, more
I'm,
clearly, but I.
there is a description somewhere in, oh yeah, like under Atlantic Fire Department automatic aid response area, and then the Lewis automatic aid, it describes both those areas, but it's not where this thing is saying it is. So that's just not correct, unless I'm reading it wrong. And then I think it says the same problem in point number 4, where it says, as described in section number 3 of B above. I think it's trying to tell us to look at those 2 descriptions that are both below.
Well, they don't. They just cover certain parts of the township, not the whole thing also.
So like Atlantic Fire Department automatic aid response area, the designated response area for the city of Atlantic Fire Department shall be, and then it lists Washington Township south to White Pole Road, and west to the Cass County line, and the Bear Grove Township south to Oxford Road, and east to 620th Street in the city limits of Lewis. That would be our normal response area that Lewis would mutually aid us in.
Yeah, yes.
And then and
We would
vice
do this,
versa.
vice versa to them, and
Yeah, anyway, it just seems like they ought to maybe clarify that. Then there's just some other little typos, like a missing S and period and commas and a word. Just saying.
Why don't, I'd go ahead and give those, and maybe give it to Chris or to me, we can give it to Mark and see if they wanna go back and, I think my understanding is they just took the old agreement and changed the dates, but that
Exactly.
doesn't mean the old agreement
So
was.
we already had this agreement
Yes.
in
Right.
place, okay, well,
So you can approve it with Kathy's correction.
you're right.
We do that, can we? I can do
Yeah,
that.
if the correction, are there any of them on the signature page? Because at least we can change everything with a signature page, you don't have to redo that. And then there's some on there too that you find.
Well, a period and a capital letter and, yeah, there's some on that page too.
I don't see
But
the
the
problem
biggest
having them
thing,
re-sign.
I mean, I'm
it.
sure it's, you know, you can read it, but the big thing was those descriptions. I was flipping pages and I don't know what they're talking about. They're looking at the wrong thing, or pointing to the wrong thing, so. I'm sure it's kind of, you know, it makes sense, but it's still direction to.
Or could they change above to below? Cause really that's below.
I would just say change it to the description below in both of those places
Mm-hmm.
and not even reference a section in a letter, because
Why don't you make some notes on that? Mark can get it down to, Willis, they can resend it if they need to. We can approve it with corrections, you know, that, with the grammar corrections made, then they can, or then be signed down there.
okay,
That'd be the easiest way to do it.
all right. So,
You wanna make that motion?
are we in the middle of a motion already?
Yeah.
No,
Got it.
no, that's right.
Yeah. that's one, second.
Okay. Any other questions on mutual aid? All in favor to accept, me to sign mutual aid with the corrections that Ms. Summers has made?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Thanks, Kathy. Item number 5, third reading and adoption of ordinance number 953 and an ordinance designating the 2014 urban revitalization area. This is the last and final step of our tax abatement plan.
I still think there's some ambiguity about when and who is going to be eligible because of the indefinite deadline. If you've started after January 14th,
You gotta have a permit after, you gotta have a permit first. You got, right, John? You have to have a building permit after January 1st.
correct.
Right. People getting the, that's the building permit issued after January 1st to get the increases going. They haven't had a building permit yet. And they're already done building. And there'd be some minor, we said before, there'd be some minor things happening where you're not gonna foresee every little thing happening. So we knew it'd be some people are gonna get lucky and others will be unlucky on the other end. I mean,
I think the issue doesn't go to this ordinance, it's really just kind of the implementation. And the confusion, and I'm not an attorney, but talking to Bob Johnson or Dave Wiederseen or the county assessor, it seems like everybody has a little bit different understanding of how it's going to work, and it just seems like that's a recipe for a lot of confusion as we move forward. It'd be nice to have that clear. I think you can say that the building permit has to be issued after January 1st, but also then it's only going to be the value that was created after today's date. And what the assessor says is, I don't know, how are you gonna set the value? You know, if a house has the foundation and some studs up, what's the value of that? And then how do you get the increase in value? I mean, who's making that call? She says she doesn't have time. All she can do is base it on the value last fall that she set for January 1st. And then when she goes, and what the value is this fall, if the building permit was issued, all that would get abated. But then again, technically and legally, that doesn't really fly. Anyway, I'm not sure what the intent is. I mean, the council and the application can make that determination, but I'm not sure based on what. It seems like maybe a can of worms. Maybe it's clear how you're going to do it.
I think what you're talking about, if you get a building permit after 2014, they have to come in and get it. If they haven't come in and got it already and they've been building, say, Dan has been building a house for 3 years. He says, I'm gonna get this tax abatement, so I'm gonna get my permit from John. So probably would be the best protocol. John would say, okay, here's your building permit, we're gonna have the assessor go out and check your property now, see if it's valued at right now, and then on them 2 or 3 occasions it's gonna happen, let the assessor do it. In other words, if you already get your permit done in 2014, we know something started in 2014, and then whatever happens from 14 to 15, that's their assessed value. But the 2 or 3 or whatever odd case we're gonna have that will dictate that Pilgrim built it in 2013, they're gonna try and sneak in on it. They didn't have a permit in 2014.
Well, they could have a permit. I don't think that's going to be easy to control when the building permit was issued.
Yeah, but
they don't have to fill out their application, let's say, until December. And when they fill out that application, we go there, who makes the determination of what the value was as of today?
The data, if what you're talking about, if they got a building permit in 2014, so they'll have an assessed value as of January 1 of 2014.
Well, that's really based on last fall, though.
Well, whatever, but it's still January
Okay.
1. That's according,
Okay.
and I'm not worried about last fall because that's just the way they run it. But to get the ones that didn't build, that built in 2013, did not have a permit in 2014, they wouldn't need to qualify for the abatement because they didn't build the permit had to be, if they got a building permit in 2014 and they haven't got it yet, then John will take it up to the assessor and say, you need to go assess this property now if we get a true value, and that would eliminate the little lap we got talking about.
So the assessor will go and value it as a, everything there's been a building permit, we'll ask her to go and set a value as
No,
of
the
today?
ones that,
As of
if
January.
if they started,
1st.
if they've been working on it, they come, let's just say, go back to Dan, he's building something, he comes back and he's go gets that, so I've been building this thing for a year and a half, and I'm gonna finish it this year. Well, when did you get your building permit? I assume, if you didn't get building permit beforehand, he's out of ordinance anyway, so that'd be a moot point anyway. So, in reality, if they got a building permit not issued in 2014, there's no tax abatement for them.
Right, but what if a building permit was issued January 1st, 2014? How do you determine that increase in value?
We did get, they were lucky.
Well, I mean,
That's-
again, according to Dave and the attorneys, it can't be just lucky. You can't abate value that was created prior to this date. I mean,
But we're not gonna be able to flip the
you
coin.
can do a portion,
We do this thing, we say, okay, the abatement starts tomorrow, because we pass it tonight. But what happens, so we're gonna send the assessor out all over town assessing everything as of tomorrow?
well, I don't know that that's really practical, but I don't know how else you're going
So I mean,
to comply
we're
with the
looking at,
law.
we're looking at maybe one or two
or-
properties at the very most that you're thinking about. If they have a building permit in 2013, they don't qualify to abatement in 2014. If they got a building permit in 2014, and we weren't really talking about an abatement back then they got lucky. That's the best way you can put it. And how many are there gonna be?
So-
One?
Well, there's quite a few building permits in 2014.
No,
So
you
if
said
someone-
January. but-
As of January, the building permits issued after January
Mhm.
1, 2014, there's been a number, quite a few, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. If someone took out a building permit early, let's say they've even completed the project, do we say they're lucky then, they're gonna get an abatement for a project that's been completed? I'm just, again, what I'm understanding legally, that's not, and even politically, what's the purpose in granting that abatement? What's the public benefit or
The legal
purpose?
the legal part of it's already been settled. We talked to Justice, and Justice told us one way. And then he comes back and says something different again. I'm not gonna get in a legal battle with an attorney that goes this way and this way. But what you're talking about is, I think it's a minor point. If they've got a building permit in 2014, I don't care what day it was, if we said we wanted to go back retroactive, so in 2014, January, if they got lucky and got it January 1st, 2014, to start building then, their assessed value, even though it was taken in November beforehand, it's not gonna change that much. If they didn't get a permit before they start building, they're in the compliance
But
anyway.
we had that language in there, January 1, 2014, and Bob Jostin says you couldn't do that. You can't go back and retroactive, so it was taken
He
out.
left it up to the assessor, and they said we could do that.
But he said, look, only the assessor, if it was considered a small percentage, was completed after the adoption of this. And how are you going to determine what a small percentage is?
But Bob Justice also said it's up to the assessor to make the call.
Only if she makes the determination that it's a small percentage, they're not going to split hairs, and someone started pouring a foundation, then he said they won't be making that call. Now, Dave Riederstein seems to think maybe you still can't abate anything that was actually the improvement prior to this date. Now, if something was half finished at this date, you could abate the other half, but how you make that determination, I think it's going to be somewhat problematic. As long as you're aware and know how you're going to do it, I don't care. I understand what you want to do. I just think it's going to be much more complicated than perhaps you realize, or maybe I'm not understanding, but in
I think
talking to the
you're trying to
parties.
make more, but if basically, the easiest way, if they have a permit 2014, they'll get the tax balance, assessed value as of January 1 to January 1 of 15. If they had a permit in 2013, then they don't get the abatement. But if they been building in 2013 and didn't get a permit, then they're violating our ordinance anyway, that are out of the loop anyway. That's.
So what happens if we say everything has to go from today on? Permit, the application, everything.
You're the same boat you
Is that the way
said.
this is worded?
Then how you gonna assess the value that was done?
Well, you wouldn't, if you said like you did in the 1990s, is you don't have to worry about it. If a building permit's taken out after this date, that any value that's constructed after that will be eligible. When she does the assessment, everything will be abated as of this point. If you go back, I don't know how you're gonna do it, but it seems to be clouded. But that's not part of this ordinance. That really goes back. It wasn't ever really clarified in the original resolution, and that's been a concern to me. I just wasn't sure. I mean, if you want to be clear and say this is what we're planning on doing,
I
yeah,
don't
that's
have
between
a
you and the
copy of
attorneys.
it right here, I just have this little thing, so I don't remember how it's worded, but is it worded in a way that it can go back to January 1st, or is it worded in a way that it would start today?
We've got, once we got it set up so retroactive back to January, the assessments would be from January 1st of 2014, whatever the assessed value was on that date, to January 1st of 2015. So if you build, you got your permit out in 2014, and you built and you got a 10% increase, you get an abatement on that 10% increase. And we said that, and we advertised it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dana, we want to make sure we got people going. We knew we were going to miss half the construction season. We want to give everybody said, let's get this construction going and moving. And John, for building permits are up quite a bit this year.
They've been a little bit faster since
Thanks.
July 1.
So things are starting to happen. So I mean, we've been talking about it in the committees and the news and everything. That's how we're going to do it. The only problem we're going to have is, the thing I heard is that what happens if so-and-so built in 2013 and when they get assessments in abatement in 2014. Well, like I said, if they got a permit in 2014, they'll get if they put the permit out, they'll get an assessed abatement on 2014. If they got a permit in 2013, they wouldn't qualify for 2014. And we said before, we'll have some, no matter how you look at it, I don't care what you put in, you're gonna have some problem here and there. It's gonna cope. You're gonna have some minor problem. It's not we ain't got 50 building permits that's gonna come in. I'm thinking, talking to Doug, there's only one or two that he's concerned about that happened or built in 2013. But if they got a permit and they built in 2013 with a permit, then they're gonna qualify. And if they've been built in 2013, they can say, I want a permit to take advantage of tax payment, then they violated our ordinance because they didn't get a permit. So they don't qualify anyway. No. You guys go to the bathroom, you gotta raise your hand.
I have a question.
We got
Okay.
a question.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jeff.
If I understand this right, if I got a building permit in January of 2014, my project is completed in March of 2014, I qualify for the abatement, is that correct?
Correct.
How does that not violate the retroactive rule, since the ordinance isn't in place?
How does it violate it?
How does it not violate it? It seems that it's clearly a retroactive,
We said we were retroactive.
but state law, I thought says
But
you
the
can't.
state law, it's up to you, it's up to your appraiser to make that clarified.
The project was done prior to enactment of it. It seems it's clearly retroactive. Which state law says you can't do. Is that correct? Maybe I'm.
Well, it's just like any other law, there's gonna be two different sides of how to read it. And we put it into Bob's office and he said we could do it the way we're doing it, with the assessor making a determination on the assessed value on it.
So tonight, though, we are voting on the urban revitalization area. Because we
Correct.
already voted on the tax abatement policy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what implements it. In other
This
words,
will implement.
this starts the
So
whole.
we're not changing anything about that policy. We're just going to approve this area.
Right. But I was just
So-
concerned about it being initiating going forward unless, if you're clear, that's how
So
you're
we're
going to
just
do
kind of
it.
discussing how's it gonna be implemented. We're not actually discussing what we're here to vote on.
That's right. But
So.
I think the only correlation is do you want to put something into effect unless you're clear about how it's going to be implemented and what the rules will be?
seems like we should have figured this out.
We've been talking about this for like
I know, yeah.
4, 5, 6
I know,
months.
and each month we think or each meeting we think we understand.
Then we keep getting the same question back again. We keep saying, here's what
So,
Johnson said, the question comes back again.
Can we go ahead and pass our urban, or at least vote on our ordinance that's before us, and depending on who applies for the tax abatement, go to the attorney at that point and figure out, do they qualify or not qualify,
That's in the, that's in there. That's in
and
the,
just deal with it as it comes
that
up?
is in the, I think it has to go up to John, making determination if they qualify or the assessor.
I know at the very end, the council has to
Approve it.
I'm not sure if I have the power to veto it, but I
We'll
probably.
take applications and the council has to approve it.
Yeah.
The council has to
Yep.
approve all the applications?
Yes.
That's the way we wrote it?
Mhm.
So we're all gonna be stuck with having to get the attorney involved again.
I just
No.
wanted to put you in the
If there's
position, you're gonna
questions.
get applications, have to make a determination, and if there's a lack of clarity, in fact, how it's supposed to be implemented. And in my mind, it seems like there's some confusion, but if you know,
Well-
then.
No, I don't know. I think we've been asking this question each meeting. But I thought that at our last meeting, it was pretty clear that legally it was okay, that we
Mhm.
weren't doing anything retroactive. I didn't get I got the impression that it was all on the up and up.
We
My
checked-
sense, the difference between Dave and Bob Jostin, Bob was saying that it can't be retroactive while he admitted probably the assessor has some discretion if it was, he said, a small percentage, something just kind of got started, they're not gonna split hairs, you might be able to go ahead and allow it. Dave's saying, as long as it was started within this year, he thought there might be some administrative rules where you could, but you can only abate the value, not that was created before it was adopted, only the value that was created after. So, but then again, who's gonna determine that value? It seems like it's maybe more complex. You can do that, I just think,
Well, I think
It's
at the
kind of a
point we're
can of
at right
worms.
now, we're stuck with our can of worms.
It's not that, I don't think it's that big, Ken. We asked Barb, I think, a month and a half ago, I said, make sure, can we do this, like we said, like the assessor assessing January 1. And she checked with Bob Justice, and they come back, we can do it. It's up to you, it's an assessor's call. It's in the code there, buried down a little far, it's an assessor's call. So that's, we said, okay, we'll go that way with it.
Because if we adopt it tonight, then that would make her all of a sudden have to go out to.
well, I think there's some
evaluate too.
misunderstanding between Barb and Bob Jostin, and Bob Jostin followed up with a letter to clarify, and that's why the revitalization plan was amended, and we took out the January 1 in order to comply with that law, but it wasn't specified clearly how it was going to be handled. And I think there's a difference of opinion between council members and legal, exactly how that's going to be implemented. I just think, all I'm suggesting is perhaps you want to make sure you know how
Well,
you're
so
planning on implementing
It sounds
that.
like each one is gonna have to come here. Every tax abatement application has to come before the council. We didn't make it a standard, you fill out the form, you meet these criteria, you qualify.
You gotta be on your consent agenda, you'll have a chance, if you got something, you can question it and look at it that way.
Oh, okay.
I can also
Go.
consult the city attorney and look at the policy, and if there's stuff that is in clear violation of policy or is illegal, I can consult David and have it vetoed prior to bringing it before you, instead of bringing something illegal before the council and asking them to vote on it, if I have that authority.
So tonight, if we vote to approve the urban revitalization area, I mean, that's not dealing with this, what we're talking about anyway, it's just approving this. And so then we will have to accept or deal with each of the applications, and we'll probably have to get legal counsel then to figure out if they qualify or don't qualify. Is that what?
They'll probably come back on the consent agenda, you'll have 704, whatever, tax abatement.
But will that tell us how it was completed, when, how much?
We'll
Yeah,
have
it
to-
should, well, it'll be in packets.
We'll have to get all that information gathered and then get the attorney's input and probably Bob Jostens also. If needed. That's no big
Pardon?
deal. That's not that big of a deal if we have to get Bob Jostens' opinion too. That'll cost something, but
Well, most of, from what I understood of the whole situation, it's up to the assessor, to not to overburden the assessor, going out to every little partial, to get a tax abate, you know, to, address a partial, and every time making determinations on what's partial done to get so much value and on down the road. They decided, she said, January 1, whatever's on his books on January 1, 2014, that's your assessed base. Now, you gotta make a 10% increase by January 1 of 2015, and you get the abatement above that 10%. So, it's gonna take a lot to get the abatement of 10%. You're gonna do some major constructions. And people are doing major constructions, we got growth going. I mean, I think we're talking, the way I look, when I've seen so far, I think we're talking about a minority problem. It's gonna happen. They got a permit in 2013 and they don't qualify for 2014 abatement. I mean, even though they might have been assessed, when the assessor assesses in November, I don't know when they assess all the properties. I assume they assess it starting from a certain date. They don't all go out in November and assess everything. I know that, because some have been assessed 2 years ago. So, I mean, there's some things. But if they got a permit in 2014, you got
Well-
the same thing going on January 1st of 2015, because some of them probably was assessed 2 years ago.
so there'll be a few applications we'll have to
Let's look at it.
make sure fit the criteria.
That's what we got the council for the approval, we're the final say on it.
Yeah, we're
So
not
there is no
trying to,
oversight.
we're not trying to illegally go retroactive.
No.
We'll do what's right.
Yeah.
And it's only for this year anyway, because
Yeah.
next year it's after.
Right, as
it'll
soon
be
as
all-
this year's over.
right.
No, next year you're gonna have to go out 2015, but
Right.
there's some parts of
But
the
there's no
town that
parts.
didn't get assessed got assessed 2 years ago. I get assessed a third every year. So in reality, what Doug's saying, a third of the town got assessed in November, the other third is gonna get assessed this November, another third is gonna get assessed next November. So if they get a permit tomorrow, and they were assessed 2 years ago, they're gonna have it, so.
I guess my question is, you say you're gonna make sure they fit the criteria, but what is the criteria?
It has to be the location, well, Dana probably.
Yeah, we got that spelled out in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the locations, but not when it starts and stops and when it applies. To use my example before, that would fit, but it would seem to me it would clearly be, in violation of the retroactive clause.
We talked we had Barb double check that, and Josh said it's up to the assessor to make that determination. They're part of that code down the very
Okay,
bottom
so
of it.
When you say the criteria, does that include part of when building permits were issued, how far along the work is? Are you gonna try to do a partial assessment of the project, or?
No.
No, that's what we're trying to avoid that. Because you're gonna try and, you're gonna have probably just as many can of worms doing it that way than you would the other way. Trying to do a partial assessment on something.
I spoke with the assessor, and she specifically said that they will not do anything related to partial assessments.
So the whole thing behind this whole assessment, make it simple and easy. And I think we've done it. We're just getting some questions that we're looking at a minority. It's gonna be a minor problem if any. And we got the council will have the final say-so on what's going on.
And there might be a few we have to get legal counsel on, but once
If we have
this
to get
year's
legal counsel on
over
some
with,
of the
that
things,
won't-
we'll have to get it,
yeah,
so.
that won't be an issue once this year's over.
I
At
think
least it
it's
should.
pretty solid. We're starting people talking about it. I'm seeing a lot of positive comments on the area. And we'll find out if it doesn't work, when we look at it again at the end of the thing, we can vote it up or vote it back down, or continue it, or tweak it.
Tweak it. And what we're voting on tonight doesn't even address that issue. so
We vote on the
we're-
proposal, yeah.
We're kind of just talking, we're not really discussing our ordinance here.
So we're back to the third reading of adoption ordinance 953.
I make a motion that we approve and adopt ordinance number 953, an ordinance designating the 2014 urban revitalization area.
Second.
Got a motion, second. Further discussion? Hearing none, Debbie?
Hardkoff,
Aye.
Halder,
Aye.
Cord,
Aye.
Jimerson,
No.
Summers,
Aye.
Hayes,
Pass 5-1. Right? Ordinance 953 passed 5-1. Thanks, everyone. Item number 6, second reading of ordinance 954, amending the code of ordinances of the city of Atlantic, Iowa by adding a subsection 62.01 hyphen 616, 161, excuse me, that concerns speed regulations. We'll go with the second reading first.
I make a motion, we approve second reading of ordinance number 954.
Second.
Got a motion, second. Discussion? Hearing none, Debbie?
Jimerson,
Aye.
Summers,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Hardkoff,
Aye.
Halder,
Aye.
Cord.
Aye.
Ordinance 954 passed.
Mayor, I make a motion that we suspend the rules and have a third reading of ordinance number 954.
Second.
Got a motion, second. Discussion? Hearing none, but I just wanted to comment to the city attorney. Would like to get this done so it helps out with tickets, right, chief?
Yeah, it brings the funding back to the city.
Okay, so maybe put more money back in our pocket. Debbie?
Just do a voice vote for the suspension.
Oh, excuse me. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Debbie. Now, need a motion for the third reading of ordinance.
I make a motion for the third reading of ordinance number 954.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Now, Debbie?
Jimerson,
Aye.
Summers,
Aye.
Hayes, Hardkoff,
Aye.
Halder,
Aye.
Cord.
Aye.
Ordinance 954 passed. Item number 7, approve change order number 1 on the contract between the city and AAA Budget Environmental for the mitigation and disposal of additional asbestos material on the property located on 611 Lynn Street.
I make a motion to approve change order number 1 on the contract between the city and AAA Budget Environmental.
I'll second.
Got a motion second. Discussion?
I was just curious, what was the deal on that?
Garage, wasn't it?
I guess the garage was not included in the original contract.
Okay.
And so it was found to have asbestos in the siding, called Transhype, so.
Who did the inspection or came and assessed it, before bid time? Was it something that we did?
John, you had, who was it that did the original?
IEA had done the original testing, and I went through their original
So they-
results, and there aren't pictures of the garage.
Okay.
It did refer to the property, so I would assume that would include the garage and everything, but
Have they removed it?
no. Not that I know. They haven't removed the garage siding yet, have they?
Yes.
They may have, but I
Yeah.
told them that, they faxed us something they wanted me to sign regarding that they received payment, and I told them that that can't be done until council approves it, so.
If I know, if I drove by just a little bit ago, it looks like siding's, all the siding's off, both places. We just had to be the lucky town got that 1 or 2% of, that put that much asbestos in the siding. Good article, Jeff. Good article.
On.
Asbestos. Oh, pay attention.
John, look, he-
Don't listen to Tommy. Don't listen to Tommy.
Tom's disrupting me.
I know it. Got a motion, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Item number 8, administrative report.
Well, our street projects, the last month, we've had an abnormal amount of rain for August, which has kind of slowed things down. So we are behind schedule. Look at the 17th Street west of Redwood. Our crews have been hauling millings into that area, and they're building the forms. So Dave Sturm thought they'd be pouring concrete next week on West 17th. Not West 17th, but west of Redwood. Also, we have left replacing the storm sewer on the alley between Cedar and Birch. I think it's between 4th and 5th, 500 block. And so they believe they're going to start that work next week. And PCS will be back in also to do the sanitary sewer that we're replacing on Maple Street between 9th and 10th Street. So that work should also start next week. Darrell says their department's also been hindered by the weather, but they're now back into doing the concrete patching. You know, they were up there on Sycamore Street doing that patching and several other areas. They hope next week to finish up with the patching, and then the asphalt plant's back open, so to finish up their asphalt work for this year. Excuse me. Tim Snyder said that with the rains that we've had, they were receiving 4.5 million gallons of water into our system, our wastewater system. And so for the first time since it was built, that retention basin we use, actually 2 million gallons a day was being diverted into that. So, you know, it handled it, the system's working. Other things that they have been televising, checking out all the lines. As you remember in the budget, we do have some funds available for doing some more relining of lines that have problems with roots and stuff. And here's the list of streets that he's identified that he plans on going out to bid on this fall. And so if anybody takes a look, if you're aware of anything or have any questions about these, let me know. But this is a proposed relining project. The bids will come back to you for your approval.
How do they decide which ones are real? Oh, because they put the.
You notice he's put a grade on them.
Oh, good.
Kind of grade them from A to F. You try to do the Fs first. In some areas though, because of the economy of scale in terms of doing or not doing, let's say it's F here and D here, and then F, it's cheaper just to go ahead instead of set up to go ahead and do it all. So that's why you're going to see. But basically he tried to pick out what are the worst ones.
Are there more Fs out there?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh.
So is
But,
F,
you know, I mean, conditions change, so something that's a D today, next year could be an F.
is F bad or good?
F is bad.
Okay. I get my grade point up in grade school. I always said it just passed.
So we have contacted IDNR about a proposal to handle Molly's industrial waste. So by getting that application to them, that starts the 180-day waiting period. So we want to get that ball rolling on that. In the interim, we will start working on a pre-treatment agreement with Molly that will specify, you know, protect the city to make sure, you know, if they send us something that is beyond certain limits that upsets our plants, that they would have liability. But based on all the information we have so far, we should be able to handle that waste. Let's see, seems like everything was going wrong. We had to replace the air conditioning unit out back here that cools this room and the offices. And with these rains, we found several leaks in our roof and in the flashing. And so we have contracted to have that work done. I think it was with McDermott, the price was $2,985. We'll get that work taken care
Can't
of.
be too much after that kind of price. Get a little caulking gun.
You know, there were small leaks. Unfortunately, there wasn't any large, but there was a number of small leaks. I got a letter from John McCurdy. He intends to terminate his current farm tenancy agreement when it expires February 28th, 2015. So that's the, as you're going towards Shelburne Quarry, and you turn, it's right there on the left,
Okay.
before you get over to
Right across the tracks?
Yeah.
Sixth
Yeah, it's
Street.
across the, just across the tracks, then you turn left and it's right on your left.
Yep.
So I think that's around 12 acres in there that he's planning, so the other contracts he has go longer, he's gonna continue with that. So if there's no immediate plans, I would advertise to go ahead and accept bids for that, unless somebody knows some reason they don't wanna do that, we'll start that process going. We did our annual letters to the county asking to abate the taxes on the airport. They also notified us of, we tax acquired some properties, 1,200 Birch and 611 Lynn, so we also asked for those properties to be abated, and the supervisors did so. I've got a notice here from SWPCO, and it's about their annual meeting. Council members are invited to attend. I have to let them know by next Thursday who's wanting to attend, so take a look at it. If you're interested, let us know and we'll sign you up.
It's down in Tabor.
It's in Tabor,
Yeah.
that's correct. John's been working with Barb Barrick at SWPCO. Thanks to her, we've got a grant application submitted for an urban forestry grant. This grant is primarily, it's for really an extensive training program where we can get people to attend parts of it or all of it. Good deal, helping people come up with a plan how we're gonna manage the emerald ash borer, and also perhaps just better manage our overall, the trees in Atlantic. So it sounds like a pretty exciting program, though it's a 40-hour program. It's broken up into, I think, is it 4-hour segments?
10 different sessions of
10 different sections, like around 4 hours each. So it'd be spread over a period of time, but, I'd like to really try to identify someone that could serve as the city forester. I do have one name. If anybody has anybody else that, people that have a background and an interest, we would like to get them through this training program as well. So we should find out in, I don't know, a month or two on the grant.
Wow.
Also, John's informed me that the actual demolition of 611 Lynn Street should begin in a few weeks, so we can get that done. Half the cost of that, it's actually, that part of it will be overseen by SWPCO, and they'll be covering half the cost of that program through a grant. Also, John reported to me that the time limit for compliance on the second minimum maintenance code violation on 211 Poplar has expired.
419.
419? Where did I get 211? Okay, 419, thank you, Harry. Not 219. Just scared somebody, didn't I?
Yeah, Dina got over it.
So this has been turned over to the city attorney for collection of the infraction penalty. Any questions?
No question for Doug? Okay, thanks,
Thank
Doug.
you.
On marriage report, I want to thank Kathy for sitting to me last meeting. I was out of town and a lot better wedding had up here. All I want to say about that one. Yeah, John's getting a lot of complaints. Right now, the rains we've had is almost like the spring. So get your yards mowed, people. There's a lot of property looking like crap. Just get it done. And don't blow it in the streets. I know people still do. Don't put it in the streets. Landlords and everything, but keep, because it just affects our sewer system, makes the city look kind of trashy, so it's good for everybody. Just keep it in your yard or bag it. And then have fun at the sign up for that powder run. You'll have fun doing it. That's gonna be a great deal. So, we got events coming up this year, this fall. Coca-Cola Day's coming up in a couple weeks. There'll be some at the chamber, I know, some kind of an autumn thing going on. So
Fireman's Parade too.
Fireman's Parade, that's I'll be off course, yeah.
October.
Huh?
Is it October?
Should be, we got a fire week, more than likely. So. More news will follow on that. That's all I have. Go to council reports, and we'll start with Mr. Bob.
I have a special session, the chamber hired or recommended that Weta Weimer be hired as the new executive director. So
And
the
they hired-
chamber director is Weta Weimer.
Yes. And she's looking for a full-time program director.
Right. That's what she was.
It's another job opening in Atlantic, so. Chris?
County on 8/25 had the Cass County Public Safety. They discussed the progress on the new 911 center and a possible change order that might be coming through due to moving some stuff around and finding some things. We had more discussion on the AMU covering phone calls, or the 911 center covering phone calls for AMU in the evenings. Discussed radio console, what he's gonna go with, and then they gave Bobby Joe Jamison, 911 dispatcher, an award for talking a lady from hurting herself, and I thought that was kind of neat. Last night I had the fire department. They did some training taking the tensions out of the cables along the interstate in case they need to get across the median there. I thought that was really informative and important. Discussed the mutual aid agreement that we passed tonight, planned some more trading, and then the student council had asked them to come wash off of those areas. That's for the color run. That was pretty much it.
Fire department made me think about taking cables down across the interstate. Could you have them check and see if they're getting notified from our local train operators if they got 3 or 4 intersections blocked off? Are they letting our 911 system know that we've got Lynn and Olive Street blocked off before they go running out and trying to go to fire and find out both of them blocked off with trains?
Okay.
So I'm following with Interstate Railroad and tell them they should get that done.
Okay.
Because that could be a catastrophe waiting to happen. Okay.
All I had was the Cass County Public Safety Commission with Chris, and he covered it thoroughly.
Good.
We're okay.
Sure.
Um,
You're up.
I wasn't able to attend the Parks and Rec meeting on the 25th, but Lori volunteered to join, and so she's like, here's Mike, so she gave me some notes. So I'll share. They talked about a lot of things, but some key points were the climate marchers were here, which they walk all across the country, I guess. I wasn't familiar with them when I first came, so I tried to read up. And that went really well. It really wasn't anything of concern. They took care of the park when they were there, which makes sense for what they do. And there was some talk about graffiti on playground equipment at Pellet Park. And Roger was just kind of asking for public support if they see any others, which I know there's been some other tagging going on at some other park areas. So, public, please watch for those things, and if you have anything, call the police. And looking for continued ways to raise money for the dog park. Roger thinks that there's about $1,500 so far, and that's not enough to complete the fencing, so they're looking for a little more. Otherwise, that was it on that. And and then last night was the landfill meeting, and the open house went well. Wasn't as many people as she was hoping would come, but she was happy with the attendance overall. And a reminder that if you ever have any questions about it, feel free to go out and visit with Wendy, and she'll show you around. Otherwise, business as usual. That's it.
Nothing.
Nothing? Dana?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Go to clerk's report.
The bills tonight total $110,111.91.
Make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
Got a motion second, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item number 12, public forum, this is the time, not yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We gotta get the big people first.
Darn.
Now's the time, place me for the council, leave it not on the agenda. bring up to the council? Dana?
Should we have maybe an update on the chamber? They haven't been over, and don't they usually do that about once a year?
There you go. I say give it another month.
Okay.
Give her a little time to get her feet wet a little bit. But we'll, Doug, get ahold of them and. Okay. Anything else? Now from the public.
Thank you.
That'd be you, Pat. You're public.
I'm very public. On behalf of CADCO and personally, I want to thank the council for this tax abatement program. I think it's really going to help us. We're really competing with the whole world out here, and I got a couple entities on the commercial side that are interested in Atlantic, and I'm going to talk to them yet this week. You know, might not get anywhere, but really appreciate this. I know you're going to have a lot of bumps and whatnot at first here, but once it gets in place, I think it's going to be a good program. Thank you. That's all I got.
That all?
That's all. I'm going to leave.
Right for time. Chief, you can't talk either. 13.
That's cold. I make a motion with adjourn so the chief can go eat his pot pie.
Yeah. Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.